Hello everyone, my name is Eclavia. I'm here from Kilowatt Industries, and today I'm extremely excited to introduce our newest product for 2022, the Easy Programmer. The Easy Programmer is essentially an onboard computer for all ASI controller powered bikes, and essentially it'll allow the end user to view almost every single parameter that is important to the ride, and also will be able to access different modes to really change the driving style of our vehicles. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll give you a rundown on exactly what this device does and how it operates. So we'll start with the display. The screen size for the display is at about 4.3 inches. It's an extremely bright display which will work perfectly throughout day and night. We have a maximum input voltage in the device of about 105 volts. So again, that is a bit above the back's maximum voltage. So the display and programmer should quite literally work for every single controller setup that's available in the market. Apart from that, we have a micro USB port that is available for updating the processor. And we also have a micro SD card port, again, that is for updating the screen itself. So without wasting any more time, I really want to get into the features of the display and really start off with the home screen and what it has to offer. So to start, on the top left, you'll find our state of charge. Again, this is the state of charge based off the voltage model inside the back. This would be a parameter that you would have to change and align before you do use the programmer. If it isn't set up within the controller, it will always show a value of 0, such as the motor temperature. So again, team, please do ensure you have your voltage model state of charge set up to ensure an accurate state of charge is available here. If you don't know how to do that, I'll be including detailed instructions on how to change the state of charge for your back, so that option will be available to all customers. Below the state of charge, you'll find our battery voltage. So this will be the live battery voltage as read by the back. Again, this will always be a parameter that we're reading from the back instead of directly reading what the battery voltage is through the display. Below that, you'll find our battery current and you'll find our motor current. Again, these are both values that are quite useful to people as they're riding to really understand where their power consumption is going. We've also included motor temps and controller temps as well. So this is extremely useful for instances where you live in a hotter climate and you're thermal throttling quite literally every day or so. To better understand where those temperatures are rising and when they're rising, I think it's super critical to have both of these values available. For the controller temperature, that's a value that'll always be live, whereas the motor temperature is again something that you have to configure and set up the right voltage feedback levels for each of the degrees in difference for the internal thermistor. At the top here, team, you can find our RPM, and again the RPM is rated up to about the maximum rated RPM of the motor itself. So for instance, if you have a maximum rated motor of 4000 RPM, the max value of the display will go only to 4000. On the left here, you will find our speed. Again, your speed could be changed from kilometers to miles per hour through settings, which we'll go in later, but that's fully configurable for the end user. On the right, you'll find our total power motor power input. So this will be provided in watts. So essentially, you'll see a constant of speed on the left and your total watts here on the right. On the bottom, you'll see our trip meter. So again, this would be another parameter that we're reading directly from the back, and it isn't something that we're essentially calculating on our own. Again, this is for continuity purposes and to ensure everything is fully in alignment when the bike is restarted. Below that, team, you will find our Eco, Road, and Sport modes. So again, like I mentioned before, we do have the ability to flash 3 different tunes at once. So by just pressing Road, the end user, literally you guys, will have the ability to change your modes, and you also have the ability to go into Sport mode as well. So literally throughout all modes, you'll have the option of going through all these modes. As you can also see, we have a fault that has come on the controller. So we have fault 1, and I believe it was fault 9 as well before. Again, this is how all faults will come up to the back, and they will essentially pop up here, and it's up to the end user to sort of take action on them. So now that we've really taken some time to go over the home screen, I'd like to give you a demo on how the parameters look when they are refreshing live as the user is driving. So for this, I do have my bike on the stand, and it will get a bit noisy, but please try to focus in on my voice as I show you the differences of values. So I'll go ahead and give it a little bit of throttle, and as you can see, we're only pushing 7 amps to the motor at the moment. As you can see, our wattage is moving at a very high refresh rate. I believe this is the highest refresh rate at the moment for any display in the world. So if you can take a look, I'll give it a lot of throttle here. I'll modulate it for us. You can see our RPM is going up as well. Our controller temp will also continue to go up as we're driving. But I'll keep modulating the throttle for us here, so you guys can see exactly how fast the numbers do pull. And now I'm holding the throttle, and as you can see, you will have a live view on exactly how each and every parameter is performing. On the bottom as well, you can see our trips start to go higher because the bike and the controller both think that they're actually traveling some distance. We've really worked extremely hard on ensuring our polling is as fast as it could possibly be without any issues, and that has really led us to where we are now, where we're polling at extremely fast speeds. And just like that, that's our home screen there. So now that you have a demo of our home screen and how all the data looks as it's refreshing live, I'd like to take some time now to walk you through our settings page and everything else that it has to offer. So settings are accessible here through the bottom right, and here you can see the variety of pages that we have available to the end user. Again, team, you can literally edit almost every single main parameter that you need for your vehicle. So we'll start off on the battery page. Let's say, for instance, our rated system voltage is currently set to 80 volts, and we did want to change that down to, let's say, 79. To change that, you will also see your active values. So these would be the values that are currently set to the controller, and these are your edit values over here on the right. And what we're going to do is click on the E. We're going to edit it down to about 79 volts. Once we're done, we'll go ahead and press save, and we'll go ahead and leave it as is. So again, team, anytime you press save, the display will take you to the home screen as a verification and as essentially a checksum process we've set up. And when we go back into the battery, you can see that now your rated system voltage is set to 79. In our home page, we also have access to our motor page, where the end user can change their active motor rated RPM. You also have the ability to change your motor from hull based to sensorless, or do an hull start and sensorless run. You can also change the amount of pole pairs in your motor and your gear ratio as well. And the saving process is literally the exact same as the battery page. Let's head out back from motor and back to our settings page. Now that we're back in settings, I want to really introduce you to the most interesting and fun feature of the Easy Programmer, and it's something that I think literally everyone will be using on a day-to-day basis. That is the modes page. Once you enter into the modes page, you'll have access to both all three of your Eco, Road, and Sport parameters. So as you can see here, for Eco, Road, and Sport, there are different battery currents and there are different motor currents and field weakening currents for each profile. For Eco mode, I've currently set it up as 50% of my battery current will be used. We'll push a maximum of 100 phase amps to the motor while only using 5% of field weakening. For Road, I've changed those values to provide me a little bit more power, but again keeping battery current at about 50%. And Sport I've used as quite literally a full out solution when I want to really go fast on road and have some fun. How I'd recommend the use of these modes is always using your Eco as a battery saver option. So quite literally putting your battery current even lower than 50. You could change that to about 10% and even reducing your motor current down just so you ensure that, hey, if you have 10 kilometers left in your ride back home and you're low on battery, you can actually make that ride instead of just guessing and slowly modulating your throttle. And to change that value, and this is the same for every value here, you just want to click an edit button, and let's say we want to change our 100 amps of motor current to 80 amps in eco mode. Once we've done that, we'll go ahead and press save, and right after save, we'll be taken to our home screen. Once we're in our home screen, we know those values are live, and just to verify, we'll head back into our modes page and you can see 80 amps have been saved for the motor current. That's about it for the modes page, team. But I believe this is where the majority of you will be spending your time, just to optimize how different modes feel on the road. Now that we're back in settings, let's head to the faults page. So in the faults page, you actually have access to all 14 faults that happened within the back. Again, on the main page, as you may have noticed before, we had faults 1 and faults 9. So the faults were filtered phase overcurrent, and over here, instantaneous phase overcurrent. Anytime you do have faults, you can simply head over to your settings page and take a look and see what the culprit was and hopefully take some action on it. And to clear faults as well, you will simply press the clear faults button and all faults will be cleared and you'll be able to ride. Over here in the device info page, again, this will include more details on the device itself. We are in V1.0, so quite literally the first version of our display. As we do push out updates and change a few things, you will see more changes on the device page. This is just so we know exactly which software is currently on the programmer. Next, we have our current page. This page I think is critical for all users that are trying to squeeze a bit more performance out of their machines. But again, I would not recommend using this page if you do not understand exactly what it entails. So your current regular bandwidth and your PLL bandwidth both can be changed from the current page. And I believe both of these settings are instances where you can change how fast the current has reached a certain amount. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Next, we'll take a look at our vehicle page. In the vehicle page, you'll have access to your wheel diameter and your units. So what the wheel diameter does is provide you an accurate speed on the home screen. So again, you really want to ensure that, for instance, if you have a 20-inch tire, you convert that 20 inches to millimeters and you enter this value over here in millimeters. Also on the bottom, you will notice that we have our units. So for any instance, if you want your speed in miles, you would set a 4 there. But again, if you'd want kilometers, you can set a 3, and that would essentially change the value of the speed on the home screen for the end user. Now we'll head back to our settings page. Now that we're back in settings, let's go to our throttle page and look what it has to offer. In our throttle page, you'll find our throttle full voltage, your throttle off voltage, your fault range, your throttle deadband, your positive and negative torque ramps as well. I will also include details on what these parameters do and how they change your ride. But team, if you do not have experience with these values and you're running a build that has been set up by a different dealer or a different individual, I do not recommend changing these values unless you know what you're doing. Also in the top right, you'll find our active throttle voltage. And again, that will change as you're providing more or less throttle to the bike. And as you can see, it's to 1.3, now it's 1.5 as I'm adding more throttle, and now I've just let it go. So it should hopefully be heading down to 0.9. And again, team, all values are editable, so you can quite literally change anything you'd want within these settings. Now that we've gone through all the settings here, I want to give you a live demonstration on how the different modes really change the different ride profiles. So to start on Eco, I'll give it a bit of a jerky throttle, and I think you can hear by the noise of it, we're not going really fast when I give a little bit of throttle. And you'll also notice here on the bottom right, because my Eco mode is set to 80 amps, it will not go above 80 amps. And I was giving it full throttle for a second there. Let's say, for instance, we've switched over to sport mode. Now in sport mode, since our values are much higher for motor current, even if I give it a little bit of throttle, watch this value over here. You'll see a much higher motor current because we've rated it to 200 amps within sport mode. You saw that 197 there? And you see how fast the numbers really do start to really change on the screen. So I'll do that one more time. You saw that 199 there as well. And now we know for road mode, I believe our amps are set to 150. You can see 150 amps. So let's head back and I'll give a full throttle in road mode so you can see that we only hit 150 amps. There you saw that 149. There you see it again, 149 amps to the bike. Overall, you can also see that our controller temperature is rising. Again, as we're starting to use the bike, you will see that number change. And as you can see, our voltage is also live as well. You're seeing a voltage drop as I accelerate. So again, team, we're pulling these values extremely quickly, and there's literally no other display or programmer that can do this on the market. You will also notice that the wattage sometimes will go into negative. Those are instances of regen, so that would be the total wattage that is headed backwards into the motor and to the battery. Another feature that I think is amazing is that you can literally change your modes while you're on the throttle. So I'll go ahead and give it about 5% throttle here, and I'll switch over to sport mode while I'm doing that. And as you can see, team, immediately after I change my modes, the motor spins extremely fast, because again, it is a live change that we're making. And I could change it down to Eco or Road or Sport, which changes the amount of power that's given to the motor. I really think this is amazing. So with that being said, that about does it for the demo of the Easy Programmer. Again, team, I'm very happy to bring this to the market because I think this is something that a lot of people would love, and it's something that is really critical to an electric vehicle's performance. I mean, having the ability to literally flash these 3 different tunes at any given time, I think will really change the game for all e-bike riders and really anyone with an electric vehicle.